Hello, everyone. I thought I would take my James Bond collection and rank the movies as best I could from my personal least favorite of the batch all the way to my favorite. Now, this is not easy to do. I have 24 titles here, and any given day they can change around a little bit, and sometimes it's hard to really rank one above the other. They're not really that different in some cases. How do you really pick the proper order? Well, this is the best attempt that I can do right now. And a few little ground rules here. First of all, I have not seen the most recent Bond film, which was a few years ago now, called Spectre. So this goes up to Skyfall is the last movie that I'm going to put on here in this list. I haven't seen the Spectre movie, and we'll go from there. Okay. So I also will say that I actually count the Never Say Never Again movie with Sean Connery's return, even though it's not part of the Eon series. I actually counted in here in this batch, okay? So let's go. My least favorite Bond film, Quantum of Solace, which is number 24. I don't have things to say about every film, but I'll say this one strikes me as kind of confusing, kind of dull, easily my least favorite of the James Bond franchise. That's number 24. Now, I thought I had this movie. This is number 23. But looking at the batch, I apparently do not own this movie yet. And because it's not one of my favorites, I wonder if I will, although I probably want to fill out the collection. It's the debut of Timothy Dalton in The Living Daylights from 1987. And I know a lot of fans out there are thinking, what? Are you crazy? Timothy Dalton's fantastic, and that's one of the best of the James Bond movies. I find it dull as dishwater, and I do not like Timothy Dalton as James Bond. He's probably my least favorite Bond actor, and therefore I put The Living Daylights at number 23. And there's going to be a lot of curious things here that are going to surprise a lot of people. All right. Number 22, as I said, I'm counting the Sean Connery, non-franchise entry. Never Say Never Again. It's a Bond film. It's got Sean Connery. I'm counting it, but it's not one of my favorites, and it comes in at number 22. Now, here's one at number 21 that's going to shock a lot of Bond purists out there. This is a film that a lot of people really like in the franchise. Some people think it's the best Bond film, or one of the top 3 or 5. But for me, never got into it much, and that's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, one of my least favorite Bond films. Now, one day maybe I'll do a whole review on this, but I'll tell you why I have it this low. For one thing, I don't really like George Lazenby in the role of Bond, and I do not like Telly Savalas, Kojak himself, as Blofeld, even though, of course, I realize he did this part here, Telly did, before he played Kojak, so I realize that. But still, I just can't take Savalas in the role. And the most important thing is the girl that Bond falls in love with, Diana Rigg, is the person that he decides to marry. And I think this film fails miserably at showing exactly why the character of Tracy, who is the love interest for Bond, actually manages to really enthrall him and really make him so much infatuated with her, and why they get married. I mean, Bond gets married for the only time here. He actually kind of changes his ways for Tracy, but I don't think the film ever really makes you feel like they have any really serious, deep, all-consuming relationship. Therefore, the payoff is not really that good as you'd like later on in the movie. So that's at number 21. Number 20 is one that a lot of people put low. It's A View to a Kill. We got Roger Moore as Bond. He's too old. Probably the worst of the Roger Moore Bond films. I don't really hate the film, but it's not up there. So, A View to a Kill, number 20. At number 19, I have another Roger Moore film, Octopussy. And, I got to say, this film I've never really watched as much as some of the other films. Maybe I got to give this another look. Maybe I'll change the ranking at some point. But for now, Octopussy falls in at number 19. Number 18 was the most recent Bond film that I've seen, Daniel Craig in Skyfall. As I say, this is the last Bond film I've seen. Not bad, but in the ranking, I'm going to put it at number 18. For number 17, this may surprise people too, it's Roger Moore, For Your Eyes Only. This is considered one of Roger Moore's better Bond outings. Again, this is just personal choice and movies like that I enjoy. As far as enjoyment level, this is not my favorite among the Roger Moore. I probably like Roger Moore, believe it or not, a little more on the jokey side, you know, balancing the serious with the jokey. So I kind of like some of his, you know, quips and things, and kind of the serious. This is the most serious of the Roger Moore films. So that's number 17. Now at number 16, and some people are probably surprised, this is not a lot lower. I put Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan, I think it's his worst, if you will, or least James Bond movie. And that's why it's the first one I'm starting with as far as the weakest going backwards routine. I would definitely put this one of the lower entries in his canon of his films. So we got Die Another Day at number 16. At number 15, we return to Timothy Dalton. License to Kill, which is a pretty good Bond film, I gotta say. I like License to Kill much better than I do, you know, The Living Daylights. I think, you know, Dalton only made 2 Bond films, and this is easily, to me anyway, the better of the 2 films. So, License to Kill at number 15. Now we go back to James Bond with, actually I got out of that one, Roger Moore as James Bond. We go back, Live and Let Die. Great theme song by Paul McCartney and Wings. But, you know, it's a fun movie, but it's the debut. You know, you're a little younger there, you can tell even on the cover, than he would become. But not my favorite Roger Moore Bond film. So, number 14, Live and Let Die. Number 13, sticking with Roger Moore, Man with the Golden Gun. You know, it's a lot of fun. Christopher Lee makes a good villain, although more could have been done with him in this particular movie. Even though he's right for the part, I don't think he did enough. But, yeah, number 13. Number 12. Okay, now we go to the Sean Connery episodes, installments, in the, you know, the official series. You know, the official series, first one to make its appearance. I put Diamonds Are Forever. I think it's possibly Sean Connery's weakest in the regular series, but it still makes it as high as number 12 for me. I'm not too wild about this Sean Connery entry also. You Only Live Twice at number 11. Not one of my favorites, but yeah, you can see the order I'm putting the Connery installments in. All right, You Only Live Twice. Okay, number 11. Now we're into the top 10. These are my personal favorite top 10 James Bond films. Some of them will surprise people. Some of them will not surprise people. But, you know, it has to do with just personal enjoyment, my own opinion. At number 10, I go for Thunderball. Okay, a little long, a little too long, a little too much underwater stuff, so that's why it's not ranked higher. But number 10, Thunderball. For number 9, I went with The World Is Not Enough, Pierce Brosnan. I like Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I do. I never saw Remington Steele, so I didn't get tired of him or associate him with Remington Steele. But I really do enjoy this film pretty much. It's, you know, Denise Richards is not a good actress, but what are you going to do? Nevertheless, there you go. World Is Not Enough. Number 9. Number 8, another Brosnan film, Tomorrow Never Dies. I like the team up between him and an Asian person that he teams up with. Is pretty good. So, Tomorrow Never Dies makes it to number 8. For number 7, I went with GoldenEye. This is the premiere, first episode, first movie to star Pierce Brosnan as Bond. He does a great job in it. I think this is easily the first and best of Pierce Brosnan's Bond films at number 7. Number 6, here's another surprise. I'm sure this comes in the bottom dead last, or usually for most people, you know, in the lower ranks, if not the worst one of them. Moonraker. A lot of people can't stand this because it's just too clowny. But, you know, when I saw this, I was very young. I like the whole space thing at the end of it. But it's not even the space parts that I like. That's the least of what I like about it. I like the character of Jaws, Richard Kiel with the steel teeth. And it's unfortunate that they kind of had him be like Wile E. Coyote and have him get into all kinds of cartoonish kind of silly situations in here and find a girlfriend and all kinds of things. But I like some of the stuff that goes on in here early on, like is it the centrifuge thing that Bond is testing and he gets into trouble and stuff. And of course, the actress is Lois Childs, as stiff as a board in the personality department. But I don't know. I have some fun with this movie. I can't deny, for whatever reason, I have a good time with Moonraker. So no way am I putting it near last. I have a good time. Now we have my top five. This is the top five from 5 to 1. Number 5, surprising to some people, Casino Royale from 2006. This is the first outing for Daniel Craig, currently the Bond of the day. And I thought this was really a good movie. Good Bond film, back to form. So that's why it makes number 5. Number 4, From Russia with Love. What can you say about it? Classic. Connery at his best. Robert Shaw. Good movie. Okay, for number 3, my favorite Bond films, Dr. No makes number 3. You know, the first Bond film from 1962. This is the first movie. And I just think that Connery really starts out strong, on a strong path. Good story, good characters, everything good about it. And of course, we have Ursula Andress too. You know, how could you go wrong there, right? Okay, now we have the last 2. And for me, this is the first James Bond movie I ever saw. First time I was ever introduced to Bond. It's The Spy Who Loved Me. I saw this in the movie theater when I was just a young guy. And I saw it several times. And being a horror movie and science fiction fan, I love the villainous character of Jaws with the teeth. And I thought he was one of the best adversaries ever in the Bond series. Probably my number 1 favorite. He was a terrific henchman. Just enough humor. The beautiful Barbara Bach. Good score, movie score. Very big film, you know. Even though it's kind of like a redo of You Only Live Twice with the submarines, I like this much better than You Only Live Twice. But then again, I saw this first. So it's a personal, nostalgic favorite for me. And of course, you all know what the number 1 film is that's left. And a lot of people wouldn't find this any surprise. And a lot of people would put this number 1, but it's Goldfinger. We just recently lost Honor Blackman, by the way. She just passed away. And this has everything. It's the first one that started it all. And, you know, I mean, not the first movie, but when Bond really became kind of a balance between the spy thrillers, but also kind of comic book character with a lot of gadgets and stuff. This has it all. Well, of course, you have the henchman of Odd Job, which is interesting. Goldfinger. Take care, everybody.